Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Solidity Insurance Group team call. Today is March 6th of 2025 already, and I'm super excited for this call because I get to be on with somebody that is near and dear to my heart, not only in like my personal life, like because she was stuck with me when I was born, my sister, but also because she's helped me so much through this business. And I think that the way we kind of have done things together has been a blessing, and we've also learned so much side by side together. So it really just showed me the power of when you bring somebody in that on a personal level, like you take this business a heck of a lot, on a different level. So Christina, I'm really excited to have you on with us today. And I'm not going to steal Christina's shine, but what I am going to begin with is for those of you guys that don't know, I did not start in the insurance industry with Family First Life. I was blessed enough to have to start with two practice companies and learn why this is definitely the best vehicle to be in. With that being said, Christina was there at those two companies, was extremely jaded, and it was completely fair if we're all being honest. I'm a little more crazy than Christina is, all right? Like a notch, and that's a good thing. But when the pandemic hit, and Christina couldn't do what she was doing at that time, we always wanted to build a business together. Like we grew up in that type of environment. So we decided like we're going to go all in and we're going to build this business together. So Christina, I'm really excited to have you on with us. How are you doing?
I'm great. Absolutely amazing. Super excited to be on the call with you guys. So thanks
Hey,
for having me.
Christina,
Yeah.
of course. And like not to interject, but you know me, that's my specialty and yours if we're being fair. However, obviously for the most part, most folks on this call, they know who you are because you probably helped them in some process within getting started or within making their first sale, which is awesome. But tell us a little bit about yourself because I just told the story for you, and talk to us a little bit about why you love this business and why Family First Life.
Yeah, for sure. So just to kind of piggyback on what Marisa said, when we initially got started at the first company, we were captive agents. So obviously it looked a lot different there than it does here at FFL. And when we got started, it's like when you're a new agent, right? You just don't know what you don't know. So we thought we were in the absolute best opportunity. We thought we were going to make all this money. Guys, you want to laugh? We were at 30% comp. 30% comp, guys. And like we thought that we were going to make so much money at that opportunity at such a low comp level. And eventually it just got to a point. I was probably with the company less than a year, maybe 9 months or so. And we didn't have leads either. So we had what you call no cost benefits. So basically, I would call you and pitch you this no cost benefit, which 9 times out of 10 was what we call a child safe kit. I'd say, hey, like your friend Mary referred you to get a free child safe kit for your children. I'm going to be in your area because at this point we were still at home. I'm going to be in your area on, Friday. Does morning or afternoon work better? So I'd get there, right? And now I have this whole child safe kit presentation. And then I just drop the bomb of like, oh yeah, and because you're getting your child safe kit, you are also eligible to enroll in life insurance. Guys, it got to a point when I used to call Marisa on the way to my appointments crying. Like, I don't cry. Like, if you know me, like, I have to be at like a really bad spot mentally to start crying. And like, it got to a point, I was literally calling Marisa crying, and I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just want to, like, I want the appointments to know I'm coming there to sell them life insurance. So literally, we found out about another IMO, which was the company we were at before FFL. And I saw a lead and I just quit that day. I was like, I don't care how much these things cost. Like, I'm down. As long as the appointments that I'm making know that I'm going to be coming there to show them their life insurance options. Like, I am totally down. Like, I don't care how much I need to spend on these leads. Like, I was with it. So literally left the company that day. I was going to say the name. You guys all know what company I'm talking about anyways. Left the company, started with this new IMO. And at that point, everything was still face-to-face. So the struggle that I found at that new company was they did have leads, but they only had one lead type, right? And because there was already agents in the area that I was working in, everything was locked out. So like any new leads that you wanted, because the lead resources were limited because we only had one lead type, it was all locked out, right? So I was literally like buying as many age leads as I could. I was driving like 2-3 hours across the state just because that's where the leads were available. But I wasn't able to write the amount of production that I wanted to because I couldn't have that consistent lead flow. So it got to a point And I was like, dude, what am I going to do? Like, I'm working part-time and I don't even want to be working part-time just because there's not enough lead availability. And at that point too, I was pretty tainted just by like the culture and whatnot. I wasn't crazy about the agency that we were working with or the company in general. Just like Marisa said, I was really starting to get jaded. So I was basically like, yo, I'm out. Like, I'm just going to bartend. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not even making the amount of money that I need to make to like sustain the lifestyle I want to be living. And I just started bartending. And eventually Marisa left that company too. And we just started looking around because Marisa didn't want to leave the industry. I was like, I never want to look or hear about life insurance again. Like, this is like the worst thing like that's ever happened to mankind. Like, I was tainted, dude. And we found out about FFL. So Marisa's like, hey, I have a meeting with the president of Family First Life, Sean Mike. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm coming. Cause like all this stuff that you're hearing about the company and like the person that initially recruited Marisa, I was like, it sounds way too good to be true. I was like, dude, I'm coming with you to see like who Sean Mike really is and if he's about what he says he's about. So obviously when we met Sean, I adored Sean. I love Sean, but I literally left that meeting and I was like, dude, he's awesome. Like, he's the most trustworthy person I feel like I've met in this industry, but this opportunity just seems like it's way too good to be true. And I was still so tainted by the previous company. I mean, we had just left there like 2 weeks ago, not even. But I was
Yeah, like literally not even.
yeah, I was like, dude, I was like, I don't want to do insurance, but like, hey, you should try it, basically, right? So Marisa got
No, that
started.
that is what you said. That's
I was like,
exactly.
Marisa, you're really good at this. Like, you're better than me. Like, you should go do this thing because you don't
I
want
was like, and
to.
I'm gonna have to go do it regardless. So we're
Yeah.
gonna try it out. Last shot, 3 strikes, I was out. So here we
So,
are.
um, yeah, so Marisa got started. I was like, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I was bartending. Guys, there was a point where I was working literally at 3 bars. Like, I was busting it behind the bars. Like, it was not the ideal situation, but I convinced myself like it's better than selling insurance. So for literally 2 years, I watched Marisa at FFL. And even when Marisa, at this point, Marisa wasn't building a team. So Marisa's working like part-time, and Sean would say that if he's on the call too. When Marisa works part-time, she's still used to issue pay like $20,000, $30,000 a month. So Marisa
Well,
is,
that is part-time. That is
yeah,
part-time.
Marisa isn't even working like a full-time schedule, and she's bringing in like $20,000, $30,000 a month. And I'm watching this happen, and I'm still not convinced it's real, guys. Like, that's how tainted I was. I was like, nope, something's gonna happen. Like, something's gotta give. Like, this ain't real. Like, no way. And eventually COVID hit. So I couldn't bartend anymore. And I was like, at that point, I'd been watching the company for like 2 years. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, dude, we've
You've
always,
been watching our linked bank account for 2 years as
yeah, that
well.
too. That too. But I had been to so many events now. I'd been around Sean so many times. The agency that she was working with at the time, I had been around them. Like, I'd been to the corporate office multiple times. And I was like, no, these people, like, these are good people. Like, they're good people. So COVID hit and obviously couldn't bartend anymore. And I was like, you know what, Marisa, let's just do this. Like, what's the worst that happens? I can't work right now anyways. I was like, we've always wanted to build a business. I was like, let's just do it. Let's just go all in. Like, if all these other people are building agencies like this, like, they're not better than us. Like, we can do it too. So we sat down with Sean. Sean obviously instilled belief in us. He was like, this is what this should look like. Marisa, you're a beast. You're going to continue to sell. You're going to be able to train new agents as they get started. Christina, basically, I need you to learn like how to recruit. I need you to learn like how to set the proper expectations. I need you to basically create those systems that you guys don't have because you're not yet building an agency. And I was like, all right, we got it. So guys, to say the least, like, we did not got it. Okay. Like, we did not got it. Like, we had to have childlike faith in ourselves. And that first like year and a half was like a huge learning curve for me and Marisa, because it's like, when you're selling insurance, it's one thing. Like, you're self-employed. You only need to worry about yourself. But the minute you start hiring agents and they're not even like in your office, they're not even in your backyard. Now you guys have a Zoom obligation. You have to have a dial team. You have to have systems implemented to be able to train these agents. Like, we, again, you don't know what you don't know, right? So like, it was a shock to say the least, but we got through it. And yeah, I can keep talking, Marisa, but that's
So
kind of
no,
how I
that kind of
started
brings.
the industry and how we got here, I guess.
Yeah, no, and that was perfect. And it kind of brings us right to like the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is why hire, right? Like coming into the business, you just talked about a little bit about self-employed versus business owner. It's like, what's the mindset behind like why should we want to build why should anybody care to build the team? Like why build?
Yeah, I think I can't answer that question for one individual because one of the best things about Family First Life is like you can really get from this opportunity what you want. Like some people just want to supplement their current income. Some people want to make $50,000 a month on their personal pen. Some people want to build a massive agency, right? So it's like, who am I to tell you what you want from the opportunity? But I know me personally, the thing that really attracted me to this business, even when we were at that captive agency initially, was the fact that you could build a business. Like I never joined the insurance industry because I wanted to be like a Hall of Fame producer. No shade to anyone that is. Like that's absolutely a major accomplishment, but that was never my goal in joining the industry. I loved the idea of being able to be my own business, being able to build my own brand, being able to help my community, being able to make it bigger than me, help agents, help more clients. It's like, if like as an in like Trey always says this, no one sells more insurance than Andrew Taylor. But why? Because Andrew has the biggest team. So like that made so much sense to me. Like my mom passed away when I was young, and she always used to say, I just know you and your sister are going to make a huge impact. So I'm like, how can we make a big impact? We can make a big impact by helping agents and helping clients. How do you help a lot of agents and help a lot of clients? You build a business. So that's why I'd say to build an agency. I mean, there's so many reasons, Marisa. Like,
And it kind of brings me back to like times that I was in the field, right? Because like, guys, don't get me wrong, we're on the phone we're working on the phone, right? Like for the most part, like we might get injured on the job, but like before, like
right,
we're driving to people's houses. Like, quite
right.
frankly, the mileage I put on my car every year to my car dealer, they were like, "Are you sure this is right?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm positive." But talk to us a little bit about, times that it's like, hey, like, what if I got sick? Like,
Yeah.
what if I couldn't work? Like, just like the same things like we ask our clients. And I think that it's really applicable to us as well.
I think that it's super important to realize like if you're selling insurance on your own right now, like you're not a business owner. Can you be? Absolutely, but you're self-employed, meaning like if you end up in the ICU tonight for some reason, like you're not going to have income. You may have post-dated some policies and you might have some renewals, so you're going to have that coming in. But when you actually build a business, you build security for yourself and your family. So if I end up in the ICU tonight, I know I'm not going to go broke. Same thing with Marisa. And it's like, it's bigger than you. It's not just about finances. And I know I'm like going to circle back to exactly what I just said, Marisa, but it's like, you're making a much bigger impact in more people's lives too. So it's like, if you're sitting there right now and you're like, I really don't want to build a business, I just don't want to deal with people. Guys, like the best thing about our company is that it's super systematic. Like at this point, our agency is literally plug and play. Like if you don't want to build a business because you think you're going to have to micromanage people and hold hands, like you have the wrong perception of what that actually looks like. Like I say to Heather all the time, I'm like, dude, do I handhold anyone? No, like I never handheld you. I never handheld Aphrodite. Rami never got his hand held. It's like people that make it in this business are self-sufficient. And the way that our agency is structured at this point is for self-sufficiency. So it's like agents that want to win here, they're going to come in and win, whether I help them, Heather helps them, or nobody helps them. So it's like,
Right.
if you're sitting there making excuses up as to why you don't want to build an agency, and I'm not saying everyone has to me, that just doesn't make sense because like you're literally giving yourself long-term stability when you're building yourself a business as opposed to being self-employed. Like a bunch of my girlfriends are self-employed. And I absolutely adore them, but like I'll look at them and I'll be like, wow, that sucks, dude. Like if you can't do hair because you like break your leg or something, you really can't make money for like a month. Like that sucks, dude. And it's not like she loves being a hairdresser. So I'm not trying to take anything away from her. It's just like I think sometimes we don't even see or appreciate the opportunity that we have in front of us. And we put up like all these smoke screens and freak ourselves out. Well, what if debt rolls to me? What if this happens? Yeah, What if you end up in the ICU tonight? You can't make any money. Like, then what? Then what are you going to do? You know what I mean? It's like, there's not all these agency owners winning at this high level because the opportunity isn't that good. Like, they're not lying to you. Like, Andrew Taylor's not really broke. Like, Trey's not broke. It's like, guys, like, you get out of this opportunity what you put into it. And to me personally, it's like hard for me to sympathize with someone that doesn't want to build a business here, because it doesn't make sense to me. And you don't have to like want to have like an Andrew Taylor sized business, but it's like, guys, even if you build your agency to like $150,000 a month, just with a couple of people that you really trust and respect, it's like the override income and the impact that you guys can make as a unit, as opposed to just being yourself, it's like, that should be attractive to you. So not to tell you all how to live your lives, but it just doesn't really make sense to me why you wouldn't want to.
And
It's
Christina, I
like
love
you
how
have
you're
a belief issue in yourself or the company. And it's like, if that issue's in yourself, you just got to step back and be like, do I not think I'm worthy of that? Like, what is holding me back? And it's like, if it's something along the lines of like, well, I can't train them, dude, like, I'll train them. Like, have them call me. Like, Heather will train them, Marisa will train, right? Like, nobody, it's never too early to start hiring. And it's like, again, self-sufficiency is the name of the game here. You don't need to be micromanaging people. Plug them into the system. They're gonna work it, or they're gonna work themselves out of it. So it's like, I know I just kind of went on a tangent. I hope I answered your question.
No, that was perfect. And I love how you're focusing on too. It's like, it's not about just me. Like, it's not just about
Not at all.
just
If it was
you.
about me, guys, I would have already left. Like, just so we're all on the same page here. Like, I would have been gone a long time ago.
So it's like about making that bigger impact. And I think that that's where it's like, it ties back to a lot of different things for you. Now, Christine, this kind of segues into my next question I got for you, which is, when we first got started, like Christina said, we were just out there kind of freestyling, like,
We were
and
doing
it
the best
wasn't like
we
a
can.
good, we were doing the best we can. We always are doing the best we can, but we were definitely out there just like trying to figure it out, guys, like, to the best of our ability. Now, at that time, we weren't necessarily intentionally hiring people. We were like hiring anybody and everyone. It was like, oh, Mickey Mouse applied, hire him. Like, let's get Mickey on there. Like, Mickey Mouse is ready. Right. So, Christina, talk to us a little bit about when we talk about intentionally hiring people, what that means. And even if you could tie it back to what that used to look like versus what it looks like now, and why it's made a positive impact.
Well, it definitely looks a lot different now than it did initially. So when we first started hiring, guys, I would hire anyone with a pulse. And like, I wish I was lying, like I'm not. Like, I would hire anyone and everyone. Like, if you were 79 years old and like you didn't even have a laptop, I was like, we're gonna figure it out. Like, it was like, it was just I just, you don't know what you don't know again. So I thought I was doing the right thing. I was like, everyone deserves a shot and everyone can do this. Guys, everyone could do this, but not everyone wants to. And it's really important when you're building an agency that you realize, hey, I'm building a brand. I'm building my business. I am going to have to work with these people day in and day out. Like, if someone's calling your phone and you don't want to answer it, do not try to recruit that person. Like, long-term, that is not going to work. Like, one of the most beautiful things about being able to build your own business is that you can choose who you work with and who you share your business and time with. So it's just vital that you realize, like, building with the right people and having intentionality in hiring is it's going to protect your business. It's going to protect your mindset, and it's going to build the culture that you want for your agency. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, there's definitely been times that we weren't intentional, and it can cause almost like a leak. I call it like a cancer within the organization, because you bring one bad person in with this negative attitude, this negative thing about like, they need like the special lead, they need like the special treatment, they need to be like the all-star, and you're just like confused as to what's going on. Then your phone rings at 9:30 at night and it's Mickey Mouse calling, and you're like, oh my God, I should have never hired Mickey. Like, what am I doing? It's like, if you're feeling that way about the people you're bringing in, I think, Christina, what we really did was we just reevaluated who we wanted to work
100%.
with and who we didn't want to work with. And I'm really thankful we did that.
And you know what, guys, when we did that, just to kind of paint a picture for everyone, because I know like agency numbers aren't always in front of everyone, our team literally went backwards. And now we've built it back up. But like there was a time when our team took a hit and me and Marisa didn't care because we were like, no,
Yeah.
we need to build a strong foundation. Like we need strong building blocks. And now at this point in our agency, I feel like we have those building blocks and we're finally in business with the right people that have similar goals, similar mindsets, similar morals. And if when you're building the foundation of your business, that's what you want to find. You want to find people that want to be on, that have the same mission as you, that are goal oriented, that you enjoy working with. And it's like, do you guys always need to agree on everything? Absolutely not. Like there's times when me, Marisa, and Rami like are down each other's throats. But it's like, it's because we all care. We're all so passionate about the business. We all want the best thing for our businesses and for our agencies. It's just like I said, just intentionality is everything when you're bringing people on into the business, especially early on when you're building that foundation and those building blocks and you're trying to set the tone for the culture that you want to establish in your agency. And I'll just end with this. Guys, the ugliest thing someone can have to me at this point is, oh my gosh, I just blinked out.
An entitlement hat?
Yes, thank you, is entitlement. Yes, guys, like I don't want to work with anyone that's entitled. Like Sean is such a good leader for so many reasons, but one of them is because he is so humble and does not feel like he's entitled to anything. So it's like the minute you start bringing on agents that have their entitlement hats on, it gets ugly. And that's exactly what we did initially. There was agents that used to absolutely crush it, but like because they wrote at such a high level, they thought that they should be treated special. And it's like, guys, at the end of the day, we all say this all the time. Like if you listen to any training, like nobody's special. And I say that with love. It's like, this is a system that if you come into, you work it, you're coachable, it's going to work for you too. Like you get out what you put in. So it's like when you're building that foundation, just make sure there's no entitlement around that. And if there is, get it out immediately. I'd rather lose the production than deal with the entitlement.
100%. And kind of transitioning from intentional hiring to, so we talked about, guys, why hire? Now, we're not telling you have to, we're just saying this is why we did, right? Intentionally hiring the right people, building out that culture. Who do you want to work with? What do you want that to look like? Who are you okay with calling your phone when you're on Eastern time and they're on Pacific time and it's 9 o'clock Pacific, it's 12 o'clock Eastern, but you're still going to take the call, right? Like who's that person for you? And like, do they feel worth it, so to say, and do they want to commit to the culture that you're trying to build in your team? Because guys, every single person on here, even if you haven't recruited one person yet, you're the first person on your team. You build the culture, you start the culture. So like, that's the good news. Now, with that being said, Christina, me and you, when we first were getting started with this, we weren't always the best communicators, right? And I think it's important to point out flaws, guys. I think that if we got on here and talked about how perfect we've been through the whole, like, it would be a really boring call and nobody would really take anything from it, if I'm being 100% honest. Talk to us little bit about communicating effectively with agents and, clients as well, and kind of maybe what that looked like before versus what that's looking like now.
Yeah, I think when we first started building an agency, my biggest flaw was my communication skills. Now, like I say it all the time, like I have the communication skills of like a cat. Now, over the past few years, if you know me now, they've grown tremendously, thankfully for everyone on this team call right now. But they weren't always there. And if you know me well enough, you know that I'm also very, very direct. So when we first started hiring, not only were we not hiring, not only were we not hiring correctly, we were bringing everyone on, but I used to treat everyone the same too. And like, as I progressed in the business, I realized like different agents are gonna receive messages differently. So I had to learn to be able to communicate effectively to what's gonna work with that agent. Like, for example, you guys are on my screen. Like if I have to have a similar conversation with Devin and Rami, my delivery on that conversation is going to look a lot different. Whereas like initially I was just kind of like, hey guys, this is common sense. I literally call agents and like scream at them and think that's going to be effective. And it's like, that might be effective for like Rami, but like, it's not going to be effective for Devin. So it's like, you need to learn the people that you're working with especially the ones that you need to communicate with, the agents that you're communicating with often, and you need to learn like what makes them tick. What messages do they need to hear and how do they need to hear it that it's gonna be effective for them? And that was one of my biggest struggles, and it's still a struggle for me. Like I'm still growing every day, but it's like when you realize like communication is like the key to growing your business and building trust in relationships, you want to start developing those skills. And same thing with clients. It's like if you just called a client and you were like, hey John, I'm just getting back to you about the veterans final expense life insurance options that you filled out on Facebook, and then you just said it's going to be $125, and you didn't communicate effectively about like what your actual job is with them, like what your role and purpose is. You didn't give them your credentials. You didn't talk to them about why they need the coverage. I mean, to be fair, you might sell some people because they just want the insurance, but it's like 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, what just happened? You know what I mean? So it's like, you need to find like you need to be able to communicate effectively, whether that's with an agent or with a client. And that's something, like I said, I struggled with a lot. In hiring, it was one of those tremendous hurdles I really had to get over, because like I said, my technique was basically like, are you dumb? Like, how do you not understand this? And I would literally like scream at people. And then I'd be like, wow, I wonder why everyone hates me. I'm just trying to help them. And one of our old mentors, I used to always say to him, like, sometimes I just feel like I'm being a bitch, and I'm sorry if that offends anyone. And he'd be like, Christina, now when you talk to agents, they don't think you're a bitch. They know you're speaking to them because you care. Like, you're coming from a place of concern, like, because my approach wasn't as aggressive and direct. And I always cared. It was just like the way I guess like delivered it. And now I know like, okay, like I can be a little bit more aggressive with him, have to be a little bit softer with her. And like, I can deliver the same message. It's just like the way I deliver it needs to be different. I just went down like a rabbit hole. So I hope
No,
that
you didn't.
your
That makes
question.
perfect sense. It's like, the way that the way I tell you something is not the way I'm going to tell 99% of the world, because we
Right.
communicate a little bit differently together, right? So, guys, just remembering like everybody doesn't want the same thing out of this opportunity. Like
Mhm.
when we were starting, everybody, including Mickey Mouse, okay, guys, like I was like, everybody wants to write 40,000 a month. They
Right.
want to build a massive
Right.
organization. I set goals for them. That
Yep.
can't like that, like it's like what it's like almost like, why would you do that? I don't know. I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought everybody wanted the same thing I wanted out of the opportunity, but very quickly realized that's not the case, and that's okay. But just understanding and being able to communicate effectively enough to know, hey, this is what Danya wants out of the opportunity, which might look a little bit different than what Pierce wants out of the opportunity. So
Right.
it's like, being able to do that and understand that is huge when you're bringing people on.
No, that's huge, Marisa. And like that was one of the main hurdles I had to overcome. I did the same exact thing. Like, I just treated everyone like they wanted to pay like $20,000 a month. And a few years back when we started hiring, that was like the norm, $20,000-$30,000 a month. But it's like, that's not what everyone wants. So it's like, now when I bring on a new agent, I get to know them. I get to know their financial situation, their family situation. How much money do they actually need to make to sustain their lifestyle and pay their bills? What are their goals? Do they want to build an agency? Like, and it's like, you need to know your people to be able to effectively communicate with them. So thank you for bringing that up, Marisa. That's a great point. You can't treat everyone like they want to achieve like your goal for them.
Absolutely. And then, with that being said, Christina, I think a lot of the stuff that you do is on the back end, and, we don't always see it every day, right? We're not like, oh my God, like, but it's like, guys, like Christina's showing up every single day, the same way that I'm showing up, like showing up. With that being said, Christina, your life isn't perfect. Nobody's life on here is perfect, to say the least. If you have a perfect life, I love you and I'm really happy for you. But for the most part, guys, we're all going to bump into things that just it's life, right? Everybody has their stuff. Now, with that being said, Christina, how do you kind of push through those more challenging days that maybe you're like, you know what, I want to be selfish today? Like, why do you choose not to be?
I think at this point, like, my why looks a lot different than when I initially, got started. My why and my reason for moving forward, a lot of time is just the team. Like, if I don't show up, it's going to trickle down it's going to it could potentially ruin Rami's day, Heather's day, Devin's day. Like, I show up at this point for the team. Like it has, once you start building an agency, it's like you can no longer be selfish. So honestly, I get a lot of my motivation just from you guys. And it's not like sometimes when I get on Zoom in the morning, I'm not like, yes, I get to go on Zoom right now and smile when I want to put my fist through a wall. But it's like, what I will say is once I'm on Zoom for like 10, 15 minutes and I start interacting with you guys, talking to you guys, helping you guys, my whole attitude turns around. So I think like, one of the things that actually makes me feel better is working. And it always has been. Like me and Marisa laugh because I specialize in just like acting like things aren't happening. And I'm not saying anyone should do that, but like when something really bad happens, it's like my go-to is just to act like it's not happening. Cause it's like, if you can't control it in that moment, it's like, why let it bother you? So I think like over time, and I wasn't always like that. I used to be like extremely over emotional, but as I've developed over these past few years, it's just realizing like, hey, this is a lot bigger than you. You have people depending on you and you need to show up for them even when you don't want to show up for yourself. So I think that's what really keeps me going on the day to day, and just having like good habits. Like I journal every morning, I read every morning, I work out every morning. And like part of the reason why I have to work out literally every morning is because like the workouts that I put myself through, I know like nothing harder is going to come throughout that day. Like if I beat the shit out of myself at the gym, I know that's probably the hardest thing I'm going to have to overcome that day. So the rest of the day is going to be a breeze. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think just like having positive habits, and just like me personally, just realizing like, hey, this is a lot bigger than you. I was laughing because earlier, my Snapchat 6 years ago, this memory popped up. I don't know if you guys use Snapchat, but I always use Snapchat. So where is it? So 6 years ago, I had this memory pop up and it was like taste testing for the new menu. I don't know if you guys can even see my screen, but
Yeah.
6 years ago, I was a bartender and we were creating like the spring menu. And I screenshot it and I just started laughing and I saved it to my favorites. And I was like, dude, anytime you feel bad about yourself or you like, I don't want to do this anymore, and you're having like a moment of self-pity, look at this picture and be like, girl, you could be behind the bar till 1, 2, 3 in the morning still, busting ass, not even making like close to the income that you're making now. So I hope that answered your question, Marisa. I just kind of lost track.
No, it does. It does. Essentially, like, why do you push through the hard days? Because it's not all about you. And guys, like,
Exactly.
I
It's
think that
not.
just shows like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And I think in this business, if anyone like can just move with a growth mindset, a forward mindset, like you're
Right.
gonna get wins, even if you're not looking for them, because you're out and you're doing things that make you feel good about yourself. Like Christina just said, she works out in the morning. She says it's the hardest thing she's gonna have to get through that day.
Mm-hmm.
She already beat herself up, so to say. Now
Facts.
it's like, what worse can you throw at me? Right. And I think that, when you grow through those moments, it's like Christina said, I wasn't always disciplined. I wasn't always unemotional. And like, I'm her sister and I know that about her, but I do also see a huge change in her in terms of her emotions and how she deals with them. And I think that it just shows growth, guys. And like, that's what it's about. It's not about we're never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. Like, God did not create anybody perfect. Okay. That's the point. But growing through a process is absolutely like rewarding, and it's going to reward you and yourself before it's even going to reward your business. It's like when I always say, work harder on yourself than you do on your business. I think that you're a prime example like of that to a point. But guys, you got to get through the hard days. You got to realize like there's only you are stopping you. We're all going through different things. We're all dealing with different things. I view you all as family. I really do. I adore all of you guys. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to go through things. They're going to stink. You're not going to want to show up. The phone's going to feel heavy, meaning you don't want to pick it up. You don't want to call anyone. You're going to start a chat with 4 people and sit there and talk in a circle in an office instead of dialing for 3 hours and lose those 3 hours of time. Like, those things are going to happen if you don't decide you're going to control them. Right. So I think that that's huge and just shows, guys, like daily disciplines and habits go a long way. So Trey
Definitely.
always says that you consistently do something And if you're consistently doing the wrong thing for, and that could be for you, like the wrong thing for you might be working out every day. And I'm being serious. Everybody is different, right? Now, if you're working out every day and that's the wrong thing for you, like, okay, like you got to tweak and adjust. And guys, like, that's what life's about. If I think about my life from like when I was 15 to right now, it's like a lot has changed. And like it should. You should be able to look back 10 years and be like, oh, wow, a lot has changed. 15 years, a lot has changed. A lot about me has changed, right? For the better. And if you're looking at yourself and you're like, oh, shoot, well, a lot for me has changed for the worst. That's okay too, dude. Like, we love you, but like, just realize what you want to get better at and move forward in that direction. It's never too late. Um, Outside of that, Christina, anything else that you wanna share?
I think that I feel like agents that aren't where they're at, it's probably your belief level. So if I can leave you with anything, guys, just like know this, we all have the same opportunity working with our agency. So like, don't think that just because someone's getting better results than you right now, that you're not worthy of those results. At the end of the day, all those results stem from is belief in yourself, belief in your system, being coachable, and putting the work in consistently. So if you're sitting there right now and you're like, I'm really not getting the results, I just don't think this is for me. You know what? It might not be for you. And if you've been here for X amount of time and you're actually putting the work in and you're not getting the results, maybe it's not. But I think that everyone on this call that isn't where they want to be, it's probably a work issue, meaning like you're probably just not putting as much activity in consistently that you need to get the results that you want. So before you psych yourself out and you're like, Rami's way better than me, Heather's way better than me, Maurice's way better than me, guys, they're not. They've just been through those lulls and they continue to work through them. And now they're getting the results that they want. And I think it's just super important as well to realize, like, if you're having a hard time in the business, I always say I'm not the complaint department, but if you're really struggling in the business, you need to share that with someone that's where you want to be and get feedback on that. But this is the most important part. You need to implement that feedback that they give you. Because if you continuously call my phone and say, and ask me about a lead strategy and tell me you want to write $20,000 a month, and then I see you on Zoom 4 hours a week, eventually I'm going to get frustrated and I'm not going to answer your calls anymore. So if you're taking time out of someone's day and they're taking time to help you get to where you want to be and asking you to implement ABC, make sure you're implementing ABC before you keep calling them with the same problem. That's all I got.
100%. I couldn't agree with that more. And guys, just to wrap up, like that's really what we got. I think that this was an amazing call, Christina. I appreciate you like walking us through that and experience. And kind of two of my biggest takeaways from it were, like business owner versus self-employed and why that matters. And also like a bigger picture than me. If I only cared about me, guys, I would have quit a long time ago. I'm just being 100% honest. Like I show up every day, like because I told people I was going to be here for them and I'm not going to let them down.